Joining us now is Cynthia Are with stories trending around the world. Hello, Cynthia.
Good morning, Dr. Bati. Good morning, Tundu. Good morning,
Cynthia.
Rufai.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And good morning to our viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
The Queen's coffin is set at rest at St. Giles Cathedral, and mourners filed past, paying their respects. King Charles, along with Princess Anne and Princes Andrew and Edward, have held a vigil by its side. Earlier, there was a service of reflection in the cathedral after King Charles led a procession along the Royal Mile. Yesterday, King Charles made his first address as monarch to MPs and peers in Parliament and promised selfless duty. A national minute silence will be held on Sunday at 8 p.m. That's the night before the Queen's funeral in Westminster Abbey. Safety.
In other news, Sonia Ekweremadu, the daughter of embattled former Nigerian Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, has appealed to members of the public to donate a kidney to her. On Monday, Ms. Ekweremadu took to social media admitting that her medical condition was responsible for her parents' legal battles in the United Kingdom. In her Instagram post, she shared the following: "My family has battled to save my life and has taken me to various hospitals, but the illness persisted and kept degenerating. I'm alive today by the special grace of God. I'm presently in London, UK, receiving 5 hours of dialysis 3 to 4 times a week. Anybody that is moved by this appeal and wishes to donate his or her kidney to me may send an email to helpsonialive@gmail.com and include his or her name, phone number, email address, and place of residence." Mr. Ekweremadu and his wife Beatrice are facing charges bordering on conspiracy to arrange and facilitate the travel of another person with a view to exploitation, namely organ harvesting. Indeed, a sad one. Tundu, I would really like to know your thoughts on this.
Well, my heart goes out to Sonia. I mean, right from the beginning of this complete nightmare for that family, at the center of it was Sonia and her health and her desperate parents just trying to keep their daughter alive. I mean, the prospect of a parent losing their child is more horrific than anybody can even contemplate. So I think that's what, drove them to certain measures for which they're now being prosecuted, unfortunately. But that's sub judice. I'm just going to skip over that and talk about her appeal. I mean, even the email address, Help Sonia Live. Can you imagine having to write that and having to write this statement, having to write this appeal? She is living through a nightmare and having to go for dialysis. I mean, I'm not a medical expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I am aware that in order to need dialysis, you're really in a precarious position health-wise. That's really advanced stages of kidney failure for that to be a requirement. So really, this is a desperate plea for somebody who is actually trying to live, and she has said that her family is not in a position to help her, that she has medical advice that her family should not, and not good donors for her, so she has to appeal to the public. I remember there was a lady right at the onset of this awful situation who doesn't even know the Ekweremadus from a can of paint, and she volunteered, and I thought that really displayed such empathy at a time when people were ripping this family that's already going through so much to shreds in quite the most barbaric fashion. She actually showed some compassion for her fellow human being. Perhaps she was not a match, but I do hope that other people like that might, volunteer and help her. This is just so awful. A young woman with her whole life ahead of her, suspending her life, trying to just live at this point. It's awful.
It really is, and it's really a cry for help. But knowing that she's been in a family with such, affluence and influence, and now she's at a point where they can't help her, and this is just like, I'm putting it out there. Please help me if you can. You really don't know what you'll do when you're going through something as difficult as this. And Tunu, I really appreciate your angle on that. But in other matters, remember when we told you yesterday that a group of indigenous firms sounded the alarm regarding a potential spike in building collapses in Nigeria? And that was based on prevalent use of substandard building materials. Well, a building also sank in Mende just yesterday as a result of hours of torrential rainfall. Thankfully, there were no casualties, but survivors are in dismay, saying they do not have anywhere else to go, and also saying that they've just paid their rent. Two of the victims explained that they spent all of their income to renew their rent up to 300,000 naira, and the owner of the building found a way to escape without informing his tenants. Well, Dr. Bati, you definitely did justice to this yesterday, and wondering what your thoughts are, what you could potentially add to this. But thankfully, in this case, there were no casualties.
Well, the only thing to add is simply that, yes, apart from what you've been told, 84 persons dying as a result of building collapse, 18 incidents having occurred within the last 2 years, 9 of such incidents this year alone. But that has to do with the construction. This one has to do with problem with drainage. Okay? And there are many buildings we've been told that are along the low-lying plains of Lagos. Lagos itself is low-lying along the drainage, the sewage line. And then flooding has been a major problem, not just in Pakistan, where it was a big problem this year, but also here. And every year, the Ministry of Environment of Lagos State will come around and say, oh, we are preparing for the rainy season. We have taken, decisions and precautions to make sure that there will be no flooding in Lagos. But every year there is flooding. Okay, so what is it that they do with the budget in the Ministry of Environment in Lagos State? We get these promises. One of our friends is the special advisor in charge of gutters and drainages in Lagos. He too joins the commissioner in saying we are ready. This rainy season, this is what the meteorological agency has told us. This will be the inches of rain. We only hear about the inches of rain that will fall. We don't get enough concrete assurances in terms of what government is doing. Their default position is to say that people are built on the drainage lines. Okay, who gave the approval for those buildings that are on top of drainage, structures within Lagos State? But in this particular case in Mende, well, we saw the building overtaken by flood, and there were good Samaritans in the neighborhood who helped to rescue the tenants. The building was almost submerged. But don't be surprised, next year we'll say the same thing. Not just in Lagos, but also all the floodplains of Nigeria, as was the case dramatically in 2012, where many states, many locations across the country were submerged. So what you will find here is negligence. What you find at another level is the stubbornness of the Nigerian citizen, who will say, well, it's God that will take care of us. Don't worry yourself. Whether it's drainage line or it is inside the Atlantic Ocean, nothing will happen. Even on the island, it's not just Maryland that you are talking about. Even on the island, people have expressed fears. There used to be a Professor Akpati, Ben Akpati, of the Meteorological Oceanographic Institute of Nigeria, who used to say that one day we will wake up and the whole of Victoria Island will sink. Because people are threatening nature and they are not taking the necessary precautions. I hope the day will not come when in Lagos and in other low-lying plains of Nigeria, there will be that tragic conflict between man and nature, simply because we have failed at the level of governance.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Bati. Now, in other news, Peter Obi has also been trending, but not for his extending condolences to Ifeanyi Ubah, and that's based on the attack on his convoy. Rather, it's due to an alleged leaked video which from Reno Mokri has been going on and on about. He's been going on and on about it on social media. The human rights activist tweeted the following: Peter Obi just lost the entire Yoruba vote. See the way he lied against Yoruba leaders, talking down on Tinubu, mocking his health and wealth. He sounded more like Nnamdi Kanu. That is the real at Peter Obi we saw. The one we have been seeing is the audio Peter Obi, #tableshaker. He tweeted a lot more than that, but let's watch that video which he was tweeting about.
This is a WhatsApp sent by Tinubu's group. No, read it out. I want you to read it out. Everybody can.
Power glad led.
No.
Okay.
Just read out what he said.
Yoruba, shine your eyes on. If you vote for P2B, is automatically voting for seaport in south and southeast. Then Igbos will stop coming to Lagos State to invest. Rather, they will go to Delta and River State. They may even stop building houses in Lagos. It will affect a lot of Yorubas. Yoruba Remu.
This is your content. He don't see the value of let's have something better. He really does the confusion. And that's it. And he was about it. I'm not sorry, I'm not using it.
It's okay.
He was about it.
It's okay.
When the country and I give him one, he said, Jagaban is the best country. Even when the man comes to work. That's the problem of the country. That's the problem. Let's ask himself a question. Hey, he will tell you. Somebody said to me, this candidate, there were people who fought about it to a standstill. I said, okay. And he even lost everything.
Rufai, I think you're going to enjoy breaking this down.
I mean, what is it to enjoy? What is it really to enjoy? And I'm sick and tired of things like this. You know why? There are issues on ground affecting Nigerians. Those are the issues. We're just talking today. I think somebody was telling me this morning now that pension fund withdrawals have increased by 17%. So more Nigerians are beginning to withdraw their pension that's supposed to be their future because they have nothing to do. And I can bet you most of those withdrawals are used to process Canadian visa and UK. The economy is in dire straits. He was talking about Japan not quite long. Net migration used to be about 60,000 to the UK. Before the end of the year, we've had well over 60,000 people. I'm sure before this year or next year, net migration should be hitting close to 100,000 in this country. You were talking about visa, passports on the increase. People are collecting more passports. They're trying to leave. Why are they leaving? Because of the economic conditions. Not this divisive politics that if you vote for somebody, they will build seaports in the... Don't we want the South too to develop? Don't we want the seaport in Delta and rivers to develop? So that every part of the country will develop? So what was the meaning of the video even played in the first place? And you see, I think all of this is just to distract us from the issues. There are real issues on ground, and let us talk about the issues. So Reno Mokri saying that he played this video, and this man was talking about, and Peter Obi was talking about the fact that somebody sent him a message and they said, if you vote for Peter Obi, this and this will develop. So we want Warri Port to be on his way. We want Rivers Port to be working. Have we forgotten why Port Harcourt was named Port Harcourt? Was after Viscount Harcourt.
Not a very nice person.
Not a very nice person because he was a rapist and everything.
Well, I was going to say it.
But it was named Port because there was a port working in the city named after Mr. Harcourt called Port Harcourt. So isn't it a shame that we don't have a port as working very well in Port Harcourt?
Indeed.
Isn't it a shame that Warri Port is where it used to be? Isn't it a shame that Cocoa Port is where? Is that not what we want? That all these ports on the port should be up and running so that we decongest Apapa and we allow Lekki to work and we have ports all over the country so that there's more trade. What's the meaning of all this? I mean, I don't get it. Maybe I didn't follow the trade because in the tweet said they also talk about health and everything. Maybe you didn't play the video completely. In the video, so I mean, maybe I didn't hear properly. But if anybody abused anybody on health, like I was here 3 days in a row, saying that when the pirate sang a song that somebody is sick and all of that, don't abuse people for health. Please don't do that. Let us face the issues. Let us face the issue. Don't abuse people for help. But I didn't hear anything also. And the message that was sent that to discredit and the message that was sent to him that he read that was said that if they vote for a certain candidate, Peter Obi, that will be port in other parts, rivers. But is it not part of development of Nigeria? I am I missing something? Yes, so I mean, I don't get the full nature of this argument. But the most important thing for me is let us face the issues. This economy is on its knees. There's massive, you see, there's so much massive unemployment. We've not released unemployment numbers since Q4 2020. It was 33%. I'm sure if they release unemployment numbers today, realistically, it should be close to 40% unemployment rates. You know what that means?
Actual figures will be over 50%.
God bless you, Dr. Abati. Actual figure will be over 50%. And that's why I dare MBS to release unemployment rates as we speak now. That's a Yoruba parlance for say, Allah will blow. So it shows us that our economy is in dire strait and the people should focus on the issue. All the candidates, and enough of all of this. If Peter Obi, Kwankwaso, Atiku, and 18 other candidates, Malik Ado, the one from SDP, if they are arguing about what they will do to bring Nigeria debts down, and it's trending on Twitter, I'll be happy. But this one say, yes, how did you make heads? Blah, blah. No, the issues that face Nigeria. How will they even solve flooding? Flooding has been a perennial issue for years in this country. You're talking about flood the other day, Dr. Abati. The first time it sank home for me, 2012, I was part of, a delegation that went then with the CEO of Shell to go donate relief materials to the Ugeli flood victims in their camp. They put them in Ugeli. So you need to see the worst of humanity. People have lost their over 1,000 homes were destroyed in that flood in 2012. Went with the delegation of Mr. Mutiu Sumono and the like, went to give relief material. You need to see how people were suffering. These were people that had homes before. Over 20 of them were sleeping in one room, breathing into each other. Because they were rendered homeless by flooding. Until date, nothing has been done.
Speaking of Bola Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress is still having the legitimacy of his sources of income questioned, and the director of strategic communication of the APC, Dele Alake, is coming to his rescue. Now, according to Alake, the presidential candidate trades in stocks and bonds and does so with blue chip companies. Specifically, as the 2023 elections draw closer, critics of the APC presidential candidate accuse him of illegitimate acquisition of wealth through corruption and covertly owning stakes in companies. Alake calls this a classic case of pull him down syndrome, jealousy, and hatred. Tunde, what do you call this?
Call what? The fact that he's explaining, Dele Alake is explaining, I will call that transparency. Are you talking about the accusations being made?
Yes.
What do I call that? Well, I suppose that's politics for you. But the fact is, if you are putting yourself forward for political office, especially the highest office in the land, such must be expected. You will be scrutinized, including your source of wealth. And it's important for me to hear an explanation from his campaign. This time it's been offered by Dele Alake. Now, whether or not people accept that explanation, it depends on the individual. Some people do, some find it risible, and which is their right to do. But the point for me is that those questions must be answered, because this is about public service, not power, as we often think of it. And if you are a public servant, you are serving us. We deserve to know every single detail about what concerns us. So we do need all the information possible, and none of that sort of defensive stonewalling.
Mm-hmm.
It's none of your business. It's absolutely our business.
Indeed, very well said. Well, thank you very much, Tunde. Well, in spite of their good intentions, people traveling to royal parks to lay tributes have been asked to stop leaving Paddington bears in plastic-wrapped bouquets of flowers. Marmalade sandwiches have also been left in reference to the Platinum Jubilee sketch the Queen performed with Paddington Bear, which delighted millions of people around the world. Following an outpouring of tributes, the royal parks have requested that only compostable materials are left, asking that wrappings be removed from flowers and that non-floral gifts such as teddy bears and balloons not be brought. Cards will be accepted and stored off-site, while flowers will eventually be composted and used across the royal parks. Groups of volunteers at London's Green Park have also been seen helping gather up the wrappings from other tributes for disposal.
Okay. Very quickly. Well, what we have seen in the United Kingdom is the outpouring of love, even as the people grieve. love for the Queen.
Limits now.
A Queen that was considered gracious, a stabilizing factor, and a dominant image and presence in the lives of most Britons. Many of them have not known any other monarch. And the ones that are over 70 years are probably, correctly, I think, in the minority. And so the passing of Queen Elizabeth II has been a major moment in history for the British, and I guess for the rest of the world. But also, this is a rules-based funeral, final obsequies, that as we have witnessed. So you're talking about, they're saying, no more beers. Okay, you remember that famous footage of the Queen and the beer during, a Platinum Jubilee celebration, and then no sandwiches. But there are also other rules. Anyone that is part of the procession, either as we have seen in Scotland, or as we begin to see from today in London, is required to go through airport-style security. Mm-hmm. The rules also say that you have to dress appropriately. You also have to respect the dignity of the occasion. No phones are allowed. No filming is allowed. No photography is allowed. So this is a very solemn process, and people have been told, if you must bring food, bring food if you are on the queue. But just behave, appropriately. But the major concern, of course, is that, as you have seen in Scotland, look, the queue could be 5 miles long. Over 20,000 persons, hundreds of thousands of persons queuing up to pay respect to the Queen. But you file pass, you follow the protocols. But I have no doubts whatsoever that the British, being usually culturally, compliant with rules, we obey the rules. Imagine if this was in Nigeria here, you are giving people rules as to how they should commiserate with a royal family or how they should pay last respect. They will tell you, no, don't tell us that. This is a celebration. Our mother lived till 96. This is Okweba, and we can behave as we like. But, the major message from here is that in some other jurisdictions, even when there is grief, there is solemnity, there is also proper conduct. So I don't think that we will have any issues with the observance of the rules. In any case, the state will be there to ensure compliance. But what is important is the image of how the people love their Queen, who served them dutifully for 70 years, and who became a symbol of what the British represent.
Very well said, and that's all I have for you. Or what's trending?
Well, thank you very much, Cynthia.